Good evening, everybody. Okay, still testing the mic. Okay, please indicate if you can hear me, please. Please, can you hear me? No. Can you hear me, please? All right, thank you so much. Thank you. You're welcome. Please also indicate if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Can you see the slide on the screen? Can you see the slide on the screen? Please indicate. All right, that's beautiful. All right, good evening. I think we will start. Others can join later so that we won't take much of our time because I'm currently in the office and I also need to close from office. So we'll quickly jump into what we have. We are repeating this particular topic because the last live section that we did, there was no sound and all that. There was some constraint on that. So we'll be looking at the ADRA honor, and what we'll basically talk about here is the teaching materials and the teaching notes, what you need to have, what you need to teach them, and how you need to assess them. Then when we come for the general assessment, the criterias. So that is one thing. So like we agreed in the meeting, we have 4 ADRA honors that we are going to talk about. And one of them is this literacy honor. This very literacy honor is one of them, which is the one we are starting with. And this literacy honor belong to skill level 2. So it's not a beginner honor, it is an intermediate honor. It's an intermediate honor which was introduced in 2005. It was adopted by the General Conference in 2005. And what it focuses majorly on is literacy awareness and community service. Focuses on literacy awareness and community service. I don't know if I'm communicating because I really need to understand if I'm communicating. Am I communicating? Are you following what I'm saying, or is there any breakdown somewhere? All right. So if I am communicating, I think I need to proceed. I need to proceed. All right. So what are the aim of this particular honor? The aim of this honor is to understand literacy and illiteracy. So when you are teaching this honor, the sole aim or the sole reason why you are teaching this honor is that the students should be able to understand the difference between literacy and illiteracy. Okay. Before now, or generally, people think that those who did not go to school are basically the ones that are called illiterates, and only those who went to school or who passed through schools are called literates. But this particular honor will teach us if actually it's everybody that passed through school that is a literate, or are there people who passes through school that are still illiterates. Okay, so another aim is to develop reading and writing support skills. Those who are having reading and writing deficiencies, this particular honor will help them to develop reading and writing skills. You know, so many people, you will just be talking, they will just be listening. You'll be talking, they will be listening. But once you finish and ask them, what did I say? Nothing will come out. Okay, so this honor enhances reading as well as writing support skill. Then it is also to promote community literacy outreach. When you have learned, you also help others to learn. Learn how to read and write, also assist others. That is the community support outreach for literacy course. All right, the use of literacy as Christian service. Okay, as a Christian organization, also look at ways in which the literacy skill can be used as a Christian service. Okay, so those are the aims, and then the objective is one, they should be able to define literacy and illiteracy. They should be able to explain the importance of literacy. They should be able to identify causes and effects of illiteracy. Okay, causes and effects of illiteracy. Then they should be able to participate in literacy outreach as it will be organized very soon once this course is completed. All right. Then these are the requirements as a teacher. These are the requirements, what you need to have, the materials you need to have. And I believe every club can provide these materials for a seamless and interactive learning purpose. You have a whiteboard. It's either you get a whiteboard or you get a flip chart. Okay. You get a flip chart. Then you have a marker. You can get marker. You also need a flashcard. You can just use a cardboard paper that you'll be cut to make a flashcard. Then storybook and newspaper. Storybook and newspaper is also needed. Storybook and newspaper is needed. Then Bible and the worksheet is needed for them to write. And the ones you two will use in making your notes. You need Bible because there are some Bible references that you will need to study and to teach. Then writing materials for the students that you'll be teaching. So that is on this required teaching materials. Then let's bounce into the section 1. The section 1 talks about meaning of literacy and illiteracy. Meaning of literacy and illiteracy. If somebody should ask a question like, who is a literate or what is literacy, and who is an illiterate or what is illiteracy, this is something that we need to understand very well. So you need to administer your courses in a manner that the person will understand literacy as well as literacy. Okay. Okay, so that is that just what is literacy? When you talk about meaning of literacy, it's cut across so many areas. It's cut across so many areas, and Let me just go through my own material and then give you the meaning of literacy and illiteracy. Okay, so say that literacy is the ability. We can just put it in two ways. Is the ability of an individual to read and write. This is a traditional definition, as in this is just the basic definition everybody knows about literacy. Ability of an individual to read and write. Whereas illiteracy is the inability of an individual to read and write. So basically, if someone cannot read and cannot write, the person is categorized as an illiterate. If someone can write or cannot read, the person is also lying between an illiterate and a literate. The person is just on a crossbar. But it is quite inappropriate when someone can write but cannot read. It is very, very rare and inappropriate. So if you can write but cannot read, the person can also be assumed as an illiterate. If you can read but cannot write, it is still inappropriate. So these two things must be complete. Ability to read and write. That makes someone illiterate. So looking at this definition now, you can see that it's not basically somebody who go to school is tagged as illiterate. That means there are still people who pass through school. Of course, we have been seeing them. There are so many persons who have passed through universities, but they can hardly read. If you give them a passage to read, they cannot read. Some people, they cannot write. Okay, if you go to some community meetings, traditional meetings, even women wing, you meet some people that when you call them, oh, come and serve as secretary, say, no, I cannot write. Oh. No, I cannot write. Oh. But if you trace those persons, they will still claim that they passed through schools, passed through universities, or some of them passed through secondary schools. So if an individual cannot read and cannot write, that person is automatically tagged as an illiterate. So that is about that. But that is traditional definition anyway. Now let's look at it in aspect of modern definition. In modern society, what is literate and what is illiteracy? What is literacy and what is illiteracy in modern society? In modern society, it is beyond that basic definition of reading and writing. It includes a broader cognitive, digital, and social skills. How do we mean this? How do we mean this now? We are talking about cognitive and social skills now. An individual to have the ability to communicate, a literate or literacy has to do with ability to communicate effectively, navigate daily life, and understand the world around us. So the modern definition of literacy is just a term that allows individuals to communicate effectively, navigate daily life, and understand the world around them. So this definition evolves, now covers several categories. That is where you now have the various categories of literacy, or you can call them types of literacy, where we now talk about the basic literacy, the functional literacy, the modern expansion literacy. So basic literacy, functional, and the modern expansion. Okay, let's be sure that we are not going beyond the bar. Okay, so we are talking about types of literacy anyway. So we've mentioned the basic literacy, the functional literacy, and the expansion, the modern expansion. Okay, so now what are basic literacy? Basic literacy has to do with a fundamental ability to decode text, write simple sentences, and they perform basic arithmetic. That means if you look at basic literacy now, has to do with the traditional definition that states the ability to read and write. Now, reading has to do with decoding of text. That is what is being written. You're able to read it and understand it. Then you'll be able to write simple sentences and also perform basic arithmetic. So when you look at somebody and say this person lack basic literacy, it simply means one, the person cannot read and understand what he or she has read. The person cannot write a simple sentence, and the person cannot do a simple arithmetic. That means that person lacks basic literacy, which simply means that person is what they call a stark illiterate. Functional literacy is the level of skill required for an individual to effectively manage daily tasks and thrive within their community. The ability of an individual now to manage daily tasks and thrive within the community. We'll now say that that person has a functional literacy ability, or that person is a functional literate, or is functionally literate. And this is, we can also attribute this to some of the leaders. You see that there are some leaders who have only basic literacy, but they don't have functional literacy. They don't have functional literacy. Having functional literacy has to do with ability to manage your task effectively. By the way, what is task? Task can be broken down to daily activities. What are your daily activities? What are the things that you have outlined to do in a day? If you narrow it down to leaders, you have what they call plan of work. You have what they call schedule. Your ability to, follow effectively the outlined plan of work and accomplish it effectively within the time frame makes you a functionally literate. Example include filing out job applications, reading medicine label or understanding traffic signs. You see, some people say they claim rubbish. Even when they are doing the wrong ones, they still claim they are right. All right, so let's go to the third one, modern expansion. Modern expansion, today, in these days now, we are in digital era. So modern expansion now, in terms of literacy, it has to do with, it encompasses digital literacy. That is the ability to navigate computers and internet. Media literacy, that has to do with critically analyzing news and information. So modern expansion is categorized, it has two subcategories. We have the one that is called media literacy. We have digital literacy. Now, digital literacy has to do with navigating computers and internet. So many people know how to operate phone, but they don't know how to operate a laptop. That means such person cannot be categorized as somebody who is digitally literate. Yes, I can operate my phone very well, but when you are given a computer, you cannot operate. You are not digitally literate. That means that person can be categorized as digitally literate because what the person have is just a basic knowledge of a mobile phone. And even some people say you can even ask them, like what and what can you operate with your phone? It's basically to do videos, go to TikTok, do WhatsApp, download movies online and do online shopping. That is all they can do with their mobile device. So that person can never be categorized as someone who has a modern expansion literacy. Then let's look at media literacy. Media literacy, we talk about critically analyzing news and information. This is where I have a challenge anyway. When we talk about communication directors communication and media directors. You see that so many persons that are being called as communication directors and communication secretaries, they don't even have media knowledge. They don't have media literacy because they cannot even analyze news and information. They cannot even differentiate between an information and the rumor. It's all right. So let's proceed anyway. Let me not talk too much. Now, importance of reading and writing. What are the importance of reading and writing? You know, the more you read, the more informed you become. If you read, your acumen, your intelligent acumen will be broadened. If the more you read, if you are just like a researcher, because research has to do with making findings through reading and other exercises. And the more you are reading, the more you get more knowledge of what is happening around you and outside your own terrain. And that's the reason why some people, when you look at them, when they are talking, they talk as though they have traveled all around the world, but they have not even traveled outside Nigeria. But they can comfortably tell you what is happening outside Nigeria. It is because they are reading. And some people, when you see them, when they just start writing, it will look as if everything that they are writing is directly coming from their head. As you are talking, they are writing. It is because they have developed this skill. And then another importance of writing is that scientifically it is proven that a short pencil is better than long memory. Because as a human being, you have so many things that you need to store in your brain. And the human brain is a replicated storage of a computer system. So several times when you don't write down some things, you will tend to forget. Now let's look at a typical example. A composer comes to a group of choristers and teach them a song. And that song, it was not written in anywhere. There is no tonic software for that song. The person just came and teach the song. Maybe the song was just written verbally. You know, after 1 or 2 months, when the group comes again together to sing that song, there will be a confusion. This person will say, it was like this person taught us. This person will say, it's not like this. This person will say, it's not like this. And before you know it, the group will sing different from what the composer, because of what? There was no proper written script of that song. So writing is very important because it is part of storage. Basically, writing is for the purpose of storage. In business or in accounting, is for the purpose of filing. Because when you file, you'll be able to refer. The reason why graduates and undergraduates, when they are writing their projects or assignments, they will do reference is because it has been written by other people. So they are referring the readers to where these other people have said something relating to that. And even in the legal sector, it is also done like that. And that is the reason why you see people always quote the Constitution. If the Constitution was just spoken out without writing, do you think anybody will still remember where to quote? So these are some of the importance of reading and the writing. Then interactive discussion and brainstorm. This aspect now is where you now have an interaction between you and your learners. You have interaction between you and the learners. The learners, you can ask them questions, they can ask you questions, and all of you will just interact based on this first section. Then once the interaction section is over, you can now go to the second section. Now, in this section 1, these are your notes. Ask the learners why reading is important on the course of the discussion. Discuss how literacy can help the society. You can allow them to say their view on how literacy can help the society. Of course, we know that any society now that lack people who can read and write, that society is more or less behind because civilization will bypass them. And on the course of the interaction, let them read the book of Hosea chapter 4 verse 6 as a Bible connection. Then you now have an activity. The activity you give them like an assignment is for them to write 5 reasons why literacy matters. So that is on your instructor's notes. Then the section 2 now we talk about causes of illiteracy. What are the things that can cause illiteracy? Poverty. Where there is no money, any family that does not have money, people may not go to school, and because going to school is one of the basic routes for literacy. So where there is poverty, and you see that people will not go to school, and then lack of schools. Lack of schools. There are some communities that that have no school. You have to walk down a very long distance to another community to locate schools. And sometimes parents, people that are of lower class in terms of finance, they will end up saying the amount alone for transportation every day in 1 week is your school fees for 2 terms. So there is no need. Then another thing is child labor. Child labor is another factor that causes illiteracy. Conflicts and the war. People will leave their place and run. So it causes also illiteracy. Then gender discrimination. We all know that in some years back, women were not allowed to go to school. Some years back, women are not allowed to go to school. That is gender discrimination. Though some tribes are still practicing it in one way or the other, but some with the idea that women activity ends in the kitchen. So what are the effects of illiteracy? The effects of illiteracy include unemployment, poor health awareness, poverty cycle, crime increase, difficulty reading instruction. Now, unemployment. If you did not go to school, if you don't know how to read and write, there is no way government will employ you. If you don't know how to read and write, there is no way they will employ you. So that is one. The unemployment has started. Even private sectors cannot employ somebody who do not know how to read and write. These days now, even security people, cleaners should be able to read and write. That basic literacy, you need it now for even the least job. Okay, it's needed now for the least job. So where there is illiteracy, what it will result is one, unemployment, poor health awareness. Because you don't know how to read and write, especially you don't know how to read, you will not be able to read all this health awareness that are being posted here and there, and because you don't know how to speak English, you will not be able to express yourself maybe when you are not feeling fine to the doctor or to the nurse, so that they will know what exactly is wrong with you. Poverty cycle. Now, as a result of illiteracy, remember, you don't just go to school to learn how to read and write. You also go to school to understand the societal value and the development. So many people now, they don't understand. They will still keep on blaming their parents by being a poor. And so many young men will still go, will they see the same place. Your parents gave birth to you in a mud house, and you've not been able to, lift your family from that mud house to a block house. You still go and impregnate a child, a girl, and the person will still come back will stay with you in that your parents' mud house. And that means you are even bringing the family down to an urgent poverty. So that poverty keep on cycling within is as a result of illiteracy. Crime increase. People don't understand that some of the things that the government is bringing to the community is to develop the community, and it's not government trying to take over the community. That is illiteracy. Government will look at your community as dark as it may be, or it may seem to be, and decide to put solar street lights in your community. And because the person is so illiterate, the person will look at it and then still go to that solar light and cut it and then sell in a cheaper rate, use the money to drink, smoke, or eat food for 1 or 2 days, and then your community will return back to the same form it was before. So illiteracy causes increase in crime rates. Illiteracy causes increase in crime rates. Because some of the things, because you don't know how to read and write, because you don't have that awareness, you will think it is still normal. You know, some young men don't still understand what is called sexual harassment till today. It is as a result of illiteracy. But it's quite unfortunate that some people intentionally decide to imbibe this aspect of illiteracy into themselves, despite having gone through school, having passed through schools, be it secondary, be it high institution, and yet they still find themselves in this crime. Difficulty reading instructions. Uh-huh. The people who are teachers, we always see this one in school now. That some people will not even read the instruction of answer only 4 questions. They will go ahead and answer the 6 questions. So these are the effects of illiteracy. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The next one. What do you need to use in this aspect? Use local communities, just like I've said. Group discussion on reducing illiteracy. Divide learners into discussion group if you people are much. Encourage presentation participation. As you are talking, let them participate, give their contribution, ask questions, let them answer. Right? Now, basic skills, basic teaching skills. What are the things you need as a teacher? What are the skills that is needed for you to qualify to teach this particular honor? Alphabet recognition. Are you somebody who is planning to become a teacher of this particular literacy honor? You must be able to know alphabet recognition. You must be able to recognize alphabets. You must not be the one that used to call A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. You must be able to know their vowel and the consonant sounds, so that as you are pronouncing it, you'll be able to guide them on how to pronounce. When you want to teach somebody how to pronounce cat, you're supposed to know that ka, though C is a consonant, but it is accompanied with the letter A. And you must be able to tell them the reason why that C80 is pronounced as cat, not K80. So that is one thing. Sound pronunciation is very important. You must, as a teacher, you must have that basic skill of sound pronunciation. Sound it very well. Sound it in a way that the children will not go back, and discover that the way you pronounce it was not correct. You have finished yourself. You're already finished. Simple sentence reading. You must be fluent reader. You must be a fluent reader. Not you are coming to teach children who are already in private schools, who can speak, and you are coming to pronounce words one after the other in a line of sentence or in a sentence. You are just disgracing yourself, brotherly or sister. You are just disgracing yourself. So you must be very simple. You must be very fluent in pronouncing simple sentences. You must be patient and encouraging. You must be patient and encouraging. So many of them may not be able to pronounce at that very moment. You try to be patient, encourage them. Encourage them, because what you are building a skill. You're building a skill, right? Use pictures and the repetition. Use pictures like the flashcard we've talked about. You need to use them so that they'll be able to learn. Then you need to demonstrate basic reading methods. Guide them through methods of reading. You pair learners for practice. You can take someone who is meeting up, pair the person with somebody who is struggling to meet up, so that the person can coach the other person. Encourage positive reinforcements. Encourage positive reinforcement is very important. Then practice reading simple sentences. When they want to practice, especially those who cannot read, who are learning to read, Give them simple sentences to practice. Now, community literacy outreach. You have to teach the younger children. People you have trained can go out to teach younger children, help adults who cannot read to read and write, organize reading clubs. You can also donate books. We still have some books in the conference that you can donate that has simple words, simple sentences that can help them to read. And they are all religious books. So while they are learning to read, they are also studying the words there. Okay, so another thing you need to learn and to teach them is the meaning of ADRA and its role in education. ADRA's role is very, very significant in education because everything about ADRA is educative. Both the community assessment, how to help people who are suffering, people who has issues, with natural disaster and the war and all that, and even how to rescue people from a fire outbreak. So ADRA is very much the role in education is totally equivalent to that of poverty eradication. So just like government has what they call poverty eradication program, ADRA is on a mission of illiteracy eradication, right? So you plan outreach activities, encourage teamwork. These are the things that are contained in this honor. So it's not something that somebody will just come and say, I have completed it and you wear it. No, you must do this. You must do this. All right. Then define literacy. These are the assignments now that you need to give. And these are also part of the things that will be used for the assessment that is the final exam. They will be able to define literacy. They should be able to mention the causes of illiteracy. They should be able to mention the effects of illiteracy, then demonstrate reading and writing skills. They need to read and write very well. Even you as an instructor, because as you are training them, you are also training yourself to get this honor. If you don't have these reading skills, if you don't have these reading skills, it will be very hard for us to honor you. That is just the gospel truth. We have oral question and answer sessions. We have practical reading exercises. We have writing short paragraphs. Can give you something to just summarize in a paragraph. Then we have then group participation assessment. See how people participate in group. Some people, when you tell them to go, you are shared in group, you are coming to do group discussion. So many people will be shying away. If you are not able to do a group participation as part of your assessment, then the person is not qualified. Okay, so these are the Bible tests you need to use: Hosea 4 verse 6, Proverbs 4 verse 7, 2 Timothy 2 verse 15. So these are the Bible verses you need to use. Okay, in conclusion, always remember that literacy empowers communities. Literacy empowers communities because any community where you have people who can read and write, that community automatically have people who can fight and defend the community over their rights and responsibilities. Because anyone who can read and write understand their civic rights and responsibilities. Education supports Christian service. That is the truth. After all, when you read the history of Christianity, it came alongside with education and trade. So Pathfinders can transform lives through literacy. Helping people to learn how to read and write, they can transform lives because that is a life transformation. Bringing you from illiteracy to literacy is a life transformation. So it's a very big gift that worth more than money. So serve humanity with compassion and knowledge. Serve humanity with compassion and knowledge. So this is the end of this very section. If you have question, do well to put your question, ask your question in the comment section at any time. Anytime you watch the video, do well to ask question. Emirates, thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody that has question, when you watch, You can ask, drop your question in the comment section. Whenever we meet, we'll answer the question. If it's a question that requires an urgent answer, I will also provide the answer in the comment section, so that not just for your consumption alone, others too who may have similar question will be able to see the question and the answer, and then their problems or their curiosity will be satisfied. Thank you, and do have a good night's rest.